Hello, I'm Chris Kapches, President of Chestnut Park Real Estate. I'm going to give you the November Toronto and area market report. I'm going to start by saying that Charles Dickens wrote a book called Tale of Two Cities, and one could use that title to apply to the Toronto and area residential resale market. We are essentially two cities, maybe even more than two cities as far as the market is concerned. On a broad scale, we have the 905 region, which is operating less robustly than the 416. And then even within the 416, we have certain housing types that are doing much better than other types of properties. In particular, semi-detached properties, condominium apartments are outpacing the market. Generally, the market was off in November. It was down about 14% compared to last year. That's not a surprise. We've indicated in our previous market reports the market was taking a turn towards moderation, and that going forward we would see increases both in average sale prices and in the number of sales, being somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 5%, more or less consistent with what's happening with inflation and cost of living, that sort of stuff, rises in wages. And we're seeing now a bit of a moderating effect to get us to that common baseline, which I think we'll be at by the end of December. And then we will begin effectively the new normal in 2019. Concern that's coming up, and it's been sort of drifting towards us over the last 3 or 4 months, has been the lack of inventory, particularly in a few areas, one of them being semi-detached properties in the 416. I mean, we're literally at crisis proportions there, and particularly in some of the eastern trading areas, Beaches, Leslieville, Riverdale. Really tight market there, and even for detached properties, it's quite a tight market, so it's not uncommon to see sales, when they do happen, when you can actually find a property, go for 5, 10, 15% over the asking price on average. And again, driven by the lack of inventory. Condominium apartments are also reaching crisis proportions, particularly in the downtown areas. Average price per square foot is now $1,000 commonplace. In many cases, substantially higher than that, depending on where the property is, its size, and its location. So, as I said, a tale of two cities is common. Prices in the 905 for all of those housing types, detached, semi-detached, condominium apartments, are nowhere near as robust as what they are in the 416. So an interesting market, seller's market in some areas, as I said, semi-detached properties, detached properties, particularly in the eastern marketplaces, higher end properties, $3-4 million range, not quite as robust. I think they're still adjusting to the new normal, but I think we'll be through that as we get into 2019. So all in all, a relatively good market, fractured, but a relatively good market, and I see it continuing in this same vein as we move into 2019, and I think it'll stay that way throughout most of the year, with some adjusting at the higher end. Clearly, the stress testing that came into play at the beginning of the year, the various increases in borrowing costs have all come into play now, and they're clearly impacting the market and are responsible for its moderation. So I look forward to December's report. I think it'll be somewhat similar to the November report, and then of course looking forward to making maybe some forecasts for what we anticipate in 2019. Thank you.